This is Forge Daily with Mackenzie Barwell on the Forge Audio Network.
Forge fans, welcome back to another episode of Forge Daily. Today is June 6th, 2023. I'm your host, Mackenzie Barwell, here to give you all things Forge. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about what happened in Saturday's matchup and where Forge currently stands in the CPL. And I've noticed a common theme listening to some recent episodes in talking to Bobby, but also some guests. Everyone has touched on how influential certain players from the 2019 roster who are still with the club now have been over the past few seasons in both building culture and setting a certain standard from within the club.
Yeah, how much every single player at the club really kind of understands what is expected of them. I mean, there's plenty of players from that first team in 2019 that we kind of expected to be stars and then were. Obviously, Kyle Bekker being the biggest one. What's also fascinating to me is how many players came out of that first team and maybe grew into bigger stars than maybe we even expected. Obviously, Tristan Borges was great in that first year, and now he's kind of evolved his game and he's settled as the rest of the league also improves around him.
I think that I always respect a manager that has a clear identity of how they want to play and he doesn't jump ship. You see he has a certain type of philosophy and he gets players to buy into that. But not only that, just players that could come and fit into that system and excel. There are specific players like a Borges or Bekker, Pasillas. I could go down the list, but they were just guys that I always knew they were playing at a top level.
That was Charlie O'Connor-Clark and Jordan Wilson from last week's episodes discussing how both the players and coach Bobby Smirniotis contribute to the club's success. Today, I had the chance to talk to some of these players who originally signed with Forge in the opening year of the CPL, including Kyle Bekker, Tristan Borges, and Tristan Henry. So we've got Tristan squared in today's episode. I asked them how they've seen the team grow over the past few seasons and what in particular feels different this year as they continue to hold their first place spot in the league. We'll start by hearing from Kyle Bekker, who I forgot to mention went home with the performer of the match on Saturday and also landed a spot on Gatorade's Team of the Week presented by One Soccer. He was in that center midfield position alongside Ollie Bassett, who we've talked about before. Here's what Kyle had to say this morning.
Yeah, I think there's been a big thing has been maturity. Obviously, we've been lucky enough to play against a lot of big teams and a lot of big competitions, and the biggest one in this continent in Champions League. And I think for a young team, that's massive. It gives you a ton of experience, and that's the beautiful thing about the CPL. We give young Canadian kids with talent an opportunity to play, and with that comes maturity, it comes experience, it comes growth, and I think you've seen that year over year. I think there's been times we've been a little bit more clinical. We haven't necessarily had that, but we've gotten results which we haven't had in the past, which is huge. I think in the past we've been a little naive at times and we've conceded very late in the games, or we've let a goal kind of get us down and we haven't been able to get back into the game, which we've done brilliantly this year.
I also spoke to Tristan Henry, and he touched on how players can change, but the team's culture will always remain consistent. Since signing with Forge in 2019, Henry having some noteworthy accomplishments to say the least. In his first season, he recorded 9 shutouts, which was the second most in the CPL. Then in 2020, he led the league with 5, and again in 2022 with 11, collecting a few championships along the way as well.
I think the guys on the team have obviously changed, the personnel, but the culture of the group and of the club stays the same. So, yeah, it's just about having the winning culture and, of course, our play style. And, just keeping that pushing forward and pushing the team forward and the club. I think finally having a regular off season. I know in the past with COVID, it's been longer. And then last year, I think with Champions League, it was kind of rushed into. I think so having a full 6-week-long preseason, I think it's helped us get out the gates quicker.
Lastly, I heard from Tristan Borges, who also signed his first professional CPL contract with Forge FC. Before we get into his comments, we should look back at his first season with the team. Borges was a standout in the CPL's inaugural season, scoring the winning goal in the first leg of the CPL finals. He won the Golden Boot with 13 goals total and shared a 6-way tie for most assists with 5. In that 2019 year, Borges announced as both the CPL Player of the Year and Best Canadian U21 Player. After signing with a professional European team in 2020, he wasted no time the following year, coming back and playing 34 matches across all competitions with Forge FC. Here's what he had to say about his experiences with the team and the CPL thus far.
I think the first year was us just trying to, see how the year is going to go and adjust to anything that, happens, and us also learning about it. But I think now it's us knowing, stuff that's happened in the past, or how to cope with situations, whether it's, fatigue, or if it's losses, or if it's, trying to get the ball in the net, things like that. And I think it's just having that, those experiences that, we've gone through pretty much everything you can go through, and us learning from all of those situations and adapting now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, as well, as good as we've been doing, I still think we can be doing better. Obviously individually myself, but I just think, the vibe that at least we have, obviously it's all positive and we know what we're capable of doing. And I think that's a great thing to know that, we've started off well, but it's not the best that we can, we can get to, right? So that's obviously a positive that we're looking forward to. And at the end of the day, it's just kind of game by game. So
Tristan Borges setting the bar extremely high for himself right out the gate. And you can tell in his interview, just not completely satisfied with his level of play so far in 2023. But understandably so, he's proven what he's capable of, especially after such a successful few years. But still much more we can expect from Tristan Borges and the rest of your Forge FC, starting with this Saturday when Pacific make their way down to Tim Hortons Field for the second regular season matchup between these two clubs. All right, that is all I have for today's episode. A little off track from the regular season business, but important to see how some of these players got to where they are now. You can expect another episode of Forge Daily tomorrow, along with Behind the Beard, so more exclusive player and coach interviews, something you can only get here on the Forge Audio Network. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you then.
This has been Forge Daily with Mackenzie Barwell. If you like what you heard, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, and share.
G, you've been with the team for a couple years now, starting on that 2019 roster. Please don't make me laugh!
I didn't know I could get you. Good. Yo! Nah, you're worse than me. Yo, you're actually worse than me.